we good? No echo? Okay, we'll bring the meeting for 1422 to order. That said, may we have a roll call, please?
Bedden.
Present.
Brooks.
Present.
Hart.
Present.
Haynes. Haynes. Hodge. Hodge.
Hello, can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that Commissioner?
Marlon, we could not hear them. Commissioner Haynes?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Hodge.
Good afternoon.
Latour.
I think so.
McDonald. McDonald.
Yes, I'm here. I can hear you.
Thomas.
Yes, I'm here.
Vickers.
Present.
And Vogel.
Here.
I did not get a response from Hodge. Is Commissioner Hodge?
Yes, she's here. She said good afternoon and also here, so she is online.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. I guess we'll have a motion of the previous meeting's minutes approval.
I move that the minutes from the last meeting be approved. Second.
May we have a roll call vote?
Bedden.
Yes.
Brooks.
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Hodge.
Yes.
Latour.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes.
Vogel.
Yes.
The minutes have been approved from the previous meeting unanimously.
Great. We'll take a little moment of time here to explain our hybrid meeting we're having. Last few meetings have been virtual. We have people who are now in the audience physically. We have people who are in the audience virtually, I presume. And then we also have people who call in through the phone services. So Jamie, if you want to take us through what our options will be if you oppose an item. Clearly we have some green cards, and then when Monty reads the items, people can.
If they are online via the WebEx, either remotely on computer or remote device like an iPad or a other device, they can raise their hand. And so when we read the item, we pause for a few seconds, minutes to see if anybody's raising their hand, and then we will put that item on regular, and then they can lower their hand once that is done when we go to the next item, so that we can have the next hands being raised for the next item if we do that. If you are on the phone, you can do that by dialing *3, raises your hand from a phone, from a call in, and in the same manner, *3 lowers the hand on a phone for dial-up.
Thank you. So with that said, I guess we'll start the readings.
Following is a consent agenda for the Little Rock Planning Commission meeting of April 14th, 2022. You have two items on consent withdrawal. Item A, file number G23482, alley right-of-way abandonment, block 1617, Gibraltar Heights Edition, 700 and 800 blocks of Atkins Street. The applicant has failed to submit all the required documentation to complete the application process. Therefore, the staff recommends the application be withdrawn without prejudice. The applicant has been notified of staff's request. Item C, Z9641, Soto PCD, 14616 Baseline Road. The applicant submitted a letter to staff on March 31st requesting this application be withdrawn. Staff supports that request. Next, we have three items on consent deferral. Item B, Z2333D, Ellis Short-Term Rental, PDC, 900 West 15th Street. The applicant failed to send notifications to surrounding property owners as required. Therefore, staff recommends this application be deferred to the May 12th, 2022 agenda. Item number 2, the applicant requests this application be deferred to the May 12th, 2022 agenda so that issues related to the application can be reviewed. Staff supports this request. And item 5, Z9670, Martinez Manufactured Home, conditional use permit, 17607 Elvin Road. The applicant failed to send notifications to surrounding property owners as required. Therefore, staff recommends this application be deferred to the May 12th, 2022 agenda. Next are the items on consent approval. First is item D, S 1884A, Watershed Point preliminary plat, approximately 1 mile north of the Cantrell Road, the Divide Parkway intersection. And first, I'll read into record the amendment made by the applicant. The applicant has worked with staff and revised the proposed preliminary plat. The revisions from the applicant are as follows. Staff will support a waiver of the required improvements to master street plan standards with the following stipulations. The developer will construct a header curb along the north and west sides of the street to define the pavement and driving surface. The header curb will also prevent storm runoff from flowing over the north edge of the pavement. The street width will be a minimum of 24 feet from back of curb to back of curb. The street will be widened at fire hydrants to comply with fire code. Construction of the header curb may be phased to match the sequence of platting of the lots in phases. The developer will construct the turnaround as shown on the plat to comply with the fire code as part of the first phase. The city will accept the right-of-way dedication and street for maintenance. Since no lots will be developed and take access from the south side of the street, a sidewalk will not be required, and street lights may be installed at the developer's option. With this, staff is now supportive of the application, and staff recommends approval of the revised preliminary plat application, waiver of street improvements to the master street plan standards, and building line variance, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph D, and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Does anybody online or on the phone wish to raise their hand in objection to this item? If you're online and you would like to raise your hand in opposition of this item, please do so now. You need to call in, it's *3. Walter, any hands raised? All right, to the next item.
Item E, Z7684B, Parkland Heights Townhomes, conditional use permit, 6615 Shannon Show Boulevard. Staff recommends approval of the CUP application as revised by the applicant on March 28, 2022, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and F and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Anybody is online or on the phone, if you'd like to raise your hand in opposition to item E, please do so now. If anybody is online or on the phone, please raise your hand now if you seek opposition to item E. Remember that's *3 if you're on the phone. Anything, Walter? Okay, I guess on to the next item.
Item number 1, G23483, South Cedar Street and abutting streets and alleys, right-of-way abandonment between Plateau Street and Interstate 630 between Jack Stevens Drive and Uams Boulevard. Staff recommends approval of the requested right-of-way abandonment subject to the following conditions. Compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E of the staff analysis. The entire areas of street abandonment will be retained as a utility and drainage easement, and all alley rights-of-way are to be abandoned with no easement rights retained.
Anybody online or on the phone wishes to raise their hand in opposition to item 1, please do so now. If anybody would like to raise their hand in opposition to item 1 or on the phone, *3, please do so now. Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item.
Item number 3, G23-485, Reichardt Street, Fletcher Street, and alley right-of-way abandonment between East 7th Street and East 9th Street. Staff recommends approval of the abandonment of portions of Reichardt Street, Fletcher Street, and the alley within Block 5, McLean's Addition, subject to the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E of the agenda staff report, and subject to the areas of abandonment being retained as utility and drainage easements as requested in paragraph E of the agenda staff report.
If anybody online or on the phone would like to speak in opposition to item 3, please raise your hand now. Anybody in opposition online to item 3 or on the phone, please raise your hand now. Walter? Seeing none, next item.
Item number 6, Z9674, East Little Rock Community Garden, conditional use permit, 800 Apperson Street. Staff recommends approval of the requested CUP, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraphs D and E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Anyone in opposition online, please raise your hand now, or on the phone, dial *3 if you would like to speak against item 6. Anyone online against item 6? Okay. I think we're going to move ahead to,
We are moving items 7, 7.1, and 9 to the regular agenda based on cards we received. So the next item on consent approval is item number 10, Z9673, Wellington Plaza Event Center, PDC, 222 Wellington Hills Road. Staff recommends approval of the requested PDC zoning to allow this proposed use, subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
anyone online or on the phone, if you'd like to raise your hand in opposition to item 10, please do so now. Okay, item 10 will be moved to the regular agenda. Whoever raised their hand online can lower their hand, please. The final item on the consent approval.
Item number 11, Z9323, 818 West Capitol, short form PCD revocation, 818 West Capitol Avenue. Staff recommends approval of the requested PCD revocation request.
Anyone online or on the phone in opposition of number 11, please raise your hand now. If you're online or on the phone, wish to speak against item 11, please raise your hand or *3. Hearing no opposition, we'll say that's the reading of the consent approval. May we have a motion?
I move that we approve the revised consent agenda, including all staff comments and conditions.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Bedden.
Yes.
Brooks. Yes. Hart.
Yes.
Haynes.
Yes.
Hodge.
Yes.
Latour.
Yes.
McDonald.
Yes.
Thomas.
Yes.
Vickers.
Yes.
And Vogel.
Yes.
Consent agenda has been approved unanimously.
Where do we want to start, Monty?
You just want to go in numerical order, start with number 4.
Sure.
4 and 8 are on the regular agenda based on staff's recommendation of denial. And then, of course, the other 3 are have opposition.
Right, so why don't we go in numerical order, 4, 7, 8, 9, right?
Item number 4 file number Z2922A, JBE Contractors, Inc., duplex conditional use permit located at 2101 Fair Park Boulevard. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow the conversion of a single-family residence, again at 2101 Fair Park Boulevard, to a two-family or duplex residence. The applicant will not reside on the property and intends to rent both units. The applicant is proposing the first unit along Fair Park Boulevard to be approximately 1,600 square feet in area. The second unit fronts West 21st Street and will be approximately 1,200 square feet.
Right.
The applicant proposes to only enclose the front porch of the unit along Fair Park Boulevard. No other changes to the existing building footprint on the property are proposed. Section 36502 of the city's zoning ordinance requires a minimum of 3 parking spaces for a duplex use. The applicant notes that there is a minimum of 3 parking spaces available on the property with additional off-street parking available along 21st Street. Staff believes this parking is sufficient to serve the duplex use. No signage is proposed at this time. Any future signage must comply with Section 36551 of the city's zoning ordinance, signs permitted in residential 1 and 2 family zones. Staff is not supportive of the requested CUP to allow conversion of the existing single-family home to a duplex. All surrounding properties for several blocks are zoned R3 and contain single-family residences. Staff feels a duplex at this location is out of character with the properties that front on Fair Park Boulevard. Staff feels that it is premature to introduce increased residential density in this area at this time. Therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested CUP.
Thank you. Is the applicant present? Yes, sir. Would you approach the podium, please? It's been a while since we've gotten to say that, so welcome. Thank you for coming. Usually what's customary is we have the applicant, and in most cases, someone from the general public is in opposition to your application. I don't think anybody here is in opposition to your application other than the staff. So that being said, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I don't think the mic's on for the podium. If not, you might want to speak a little closer.
Hello. Thank you, sir. Good evening to everyone here. My name is Charles Ekoromado with JBE Contractors. And on this application, we plan to make it turn into a duplex. This property is already on a double lot. So as they wrote on their letter, it's not going to increase the density for that area. And also, we have a lot of parking, even more than enough that is required. And thirdly, back in May of 85, this board approved for that house to be enclosed. That made it too big for that area. And so that's what we proposed to just put a firewall in the middle and make it a duplex. So I'm appealing to you all to please see what you can do for us regarding this application. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Do any of the commissioners have questions for the applicant? I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name.
My name is Charles.
Charles?
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, do y'all have any questions about this application for the applicant?
This is Commissioner Thomas. I have a question for staff.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, the applicant just stated that this is proposed on a double lot. So was this once before 2 separate single lots?
I believe it is currently 2 lots with 1 single-family structure on it. The applicant may have a little more information. I believe the structure on it may have previously been 2 structures that was combined into 1 single-family home. The applicant may want to elaborate on that.
Sir, would you like to?
Yes, sir. I believe so, because from their application that was approved back in 85, it was approved to combine into a single family. So I just want to separate like it was.
It was 2 structures and it was combined in 85 to be 1 structure.
Yeah, it was. There there was a garage there, they enclosed everything to be just one, so.
So the garage kind of got enclosed into the main home.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Thomas, does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Any other commissioners have questions for the applicant?
I have a question.
Please.
With my understanding, will this staff, or does it have two separate addresses? Or is it one address, since it's two different lots?
Currently, it's just one single-family home with one address. I'm assuming that if this is approved, the 2101 will probably be an A and a B.
Okay. Thank you.
So there are no duplexes surrounding this applicants.
None that we know of. If you'll look at the zoning map, you'll see that, pretty much the entire subdivision of Oak Forest is zoned R3 with single-family homes. Staff is not opposed to more density in certain areas of the city, and we've supported duplexes in the Capitol View Stiff Station area, south of that neighborhood across 630, where you have a variety of zoning and residential uses, single-family, two-family, R4 zoning, and some R5 and PDRs, which are multi-unit. That's typically where we would support introduction of duplex units.
Thank you. Hearing no other questions.
I have one. The future land use for this area will remain the same as it is right now, single family?
Yes, the conditional use permit does not change the zoning.
Guess we will entertain a motion.
Let's see. I move for the approval. What's this item number again?
4.
It's Z 922-A, including all staff comments, conditions, and accept the recommendation of denial.
Second.
Jamie, I heard a second from Commissioner Vickers, I think.
Yes.
And Director Collins, you will tell us how we are voting now in the affirmative.
Yes, all votes have to be in the affirmative, and so the initial recommendation is correct. You recommend all staff comments and conditions except that of denial. That way, when the vote is cast, you are voting, if you vote for, you are voting to pass this item. If you vote against, you are voting to deny this item.
Thank you for that clarification. Now that we've had the motions and the clarifications, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Bedden.
No?
Brooks. Hart.
No.
Haynes.
No.
Hodge.
Yes.
Latour.
No.
McDonald.
We did not hear that.
McDonald, can you repeat your response again?
No.
Thank
My
you.
vote is
Thomas.
I vote in support of this item, so I guess pass or to pass, if I said that right.
You vote
Vickers?
Yes.
No. And Vogel.
No.
The motion fails.
Do you have 8-2?
One, two, three, 4. I have 7 and 3.
7-3, okay. All right. Sir, I'm sorry, your application did fail.
Yeah, thank you. All right.
Thank you. Guess we'll move on to item 7. I think we'll have 2 readings, is that correct?
That's great. We'll do 7 and 7.1 together. Mr. Malone will present 7, then I'll do 7.1.
Okay.
Excuse me.
have to get a little closer to the mic.
Multitasking.
Mr. Chairman and Planning Commission, the item 7 is a land use plan amendment, and Mr. Moore will go over the rezoning that's related to this afterwards. The map that's up there is a copy of the land use plan, and so that shows you what I'll be talking about today. On the north side of, this is on the north side of Lawson Road, just past Marsh. It's literally on the edge of the city's zoning and planning jurisdiction. As you see that area that's marked south of there, the south of Lawson Road at this location is outside of the city's zoning and planning jurisdiction, so that all that property is not zoned currently. The Lawson Road is a major road, has been for years. Is proposed to continue to be that way on the regional plan and the city's plan, bringing traffic in from the western areas into the city of Little Rock. And Marsh is proposed to be a connector, a major connector north and south, again, also on the regional, as well as the city's land use plan. Because Lawson has been historically a major traffic artery for that part of the county, there is a scattering of non-residential uses mixed in with residential uses up and down the street there. But this is a major intersection. That there is some commercial, as you see on the plan proposed at the intersection. This would be an expansion. This is, from the city's perspective, an arterial intersection, which we believe is an appropriate location for commercial uses. The only major change in the last few years has been the subdivision that you see to the east and north a little bit off of Marsh. That's a single-family subdivision that's been developed. There have been some changes of uses up and down the street, but the biggest major change in the immediate area is that subdivision addition. So we did feel like an addition of some more commercial would probably be appropriate at this future major intersection for that part of the county and city ultimately. I'll turn it over to Mr. Moore from there.
Item 7.1, file number Z9669. This is the rezoning application for 19300 Lawson Road. The applicant is proposing to rezone this 2.139 acre property from R2 Single Family District to C3 General Commercial District. The property is comprised of a single lot. The rezoning is proposed in order to construct a building on the property for personal storage. The 2.139 acre property currently contains a metal frame barn structure near the northern portion of the property. It is mostly open adjacent to Lawson Road with a cluster of trees along the eastern edge of the property. The property lightly slopes downward from back to front or north to south. The city's future land use plan was explained by Mr. Malone and is a separate item that you'll need to take a separate vote on. And the rezoning staff is supportive of the requested C3 zoning. Staff views the request as reasonable. The property is located adjacent to a minor arterial roadway, one lot west of a minor arterial intersection, which is Lawson Road and Marsh Road. Staff believes it is appropriate to continue the commercial development in the area. Several of the surrounding properties are zoned commercial or have current commercial uses. This property is also located adjacent to property designated as C or commercial in the city's future land use plan. Therefore, staff believes the requested C3 zoning will have no adverse impact on the surrounding properties or the general area, and staff recommends approval of the requested C3 rezoning.
Thank you. We have had a person online through the chat feature wish to speak against 7 and 7.1. The name is Sarah Holiday. So, sorry, I was in the middle of trying to make sure we have the applicant for 7.1 is the city, correct? No. So the applicant, is the applicant here? All right, Mr. Daters.
Chairman Vogel, Commissioner, staff, my name is Tim Dater. We represent the owner of the property who, as Monty had mentioned, would like to construct a structure on their property for personal storage. This was the correct zoning for that use. There are commercial uses in the neighborhood, or commercial zone property, and commercial uses just across the street. And I'd be happy to answer any questions and would reserve the rest of my time to respond to any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have a Lewis Kitchen, or Richie in the room. Would you like to speak, sir?
Yes, I would. Thank
Okay,
you.
before you do, keep in mind there is another person who'd like to speak, and we reserve 20 minutes for each side to speak. So please go ahead.
Very good. Yeah, actually, I represent the owner of the Prickett's grocery store, which is the commercial business directly across the street. And I understand that this is a major feeder road. And one of the biggest problem that my client has with converting this and rezoning it to commercial, it's going to create more traffic. And as it is, Lawson Road is a very narrow road, no sidewalks, just barely a ditch. We feel like it would create a traffic hazard out there. And as we all know, as the city expands, obviously it is close to the edge of the city limits, but we all know that that will probably be pushed out in the future. I would suggest wait on any rezoning issues until after the city has done so. And also, there's probably a good chance that Lawson Road will eventually be widened. And once it's widened, then it would probably be more conducive to more commercial property out there. At this point, I think it would be a hazard to the people that currently live out there. My client has a commercial business, and he also has a residential house out there as well. And for those reasons, we would oppose the rezoning of that particular lot to C3. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritchie. That was very concise. May we have Sarah Holliday unmuted so that she may speak as well?
Afternoon, this is Sarah Holliday. Appreciate everyone taking the time to listen to me today. I represent 26.2 acres that directly connect with the property being discussed today that is on Lawson. Myself and my family live on this property and also farm on this property. So there is also, that concern that there will be any type of commercial issue, if not with the individual who is planning to build, but also any type of future development for this area. If you look at the map, the area is heavily residential. Being a resident, I know for a fact that the surrounding properties, we're all in this rural kind of on the outskirts of town, and we do appreciate the fact that we aren't in a commercial area. And as the individual who spoke before us, there is the concern of traffic hazards. It is a very narrow road, and there is a bit of traffic, and it's primary residential traffic. So introducing another commercial property at this time, I think that would be a hazard for the surrounding residents. There's also the concern for, like I said, a lot of the surrounding properties are rural farms like mine, as well as residential areas, really nice residential areas that I think a commercial property in this area at this time would not benefit the surrounding residents.
Can you tell us exactly where your property is in relation to the applicants? You said it bordered Lawson and the property.
So Lawson, and we are the adjoining property to the back. Yes, so our property runs pretty much this whole back area that you are circling, yes.
Thank you. Would you like to say anything else?
Just as a parent, as well as being a farmer with livestock. And, it's not something that I think would benefit this area, it being commercial. I have briefly met the individuals who have bought the property, and I think there was a lot of confusion in regards to what they had intentions to do when I spoke to them initially. So, coming from us as the surrounding property owners, we would fight to keep this residential. I don't have any problem with maybe allowing a variance if that is something that would be considered to keep it residential and allow them to build their storage, but keeping it residential. I just don't think that a commercial property would benefit them or the surrounding property holders.
Thank you. Applicant, would you like to respond?
Thank you, Chairman. This is a 2.1 acre parcel. It's on what's designated as I believe, a minor or a principal arterial street. It's immediately adjacent to a parcel which is larger in zone C3 as well. And I apologize, but the parcel to the west of it is a planned commercial development. The parcel on the far side of the street is a commercial operation. This is the correct zoning for the intended use of the property, and that's why we've asked for this C3 zoning.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hold on, ma'am.
If I might,
Hold on.
oh,
ma'am.
sorry, I apologize.
Customarily, it's not a back and forth. It's kind of the applicant has his or her turn to speak, and then the opposition. Did the commissioners have any questions for the applicant?
Yes.
Okay, applicant?
How many units will be on this? Is it just a single unit storage?
It'll just be a single unit for the owner's personal use.
Okay.
And to the east, the property that it borders, that's C3, is there a structure on that property?
That property is currently undeveloped.
Okay. And back to the west, how far does the city limits go or the ETJ go back to the west? Because it stops on the south side of Lawson, correct?
Just a little bit further than this map goes.
Yeah.
Not much, just a little bit further.
So on the next intersection, it's C3 as well.
By the time you get to Lawson Elementary, which is just a little bit further to the west on the south side of Lawson, that you're outside the city's jurisdiction on both sides.
Thank you. Commissioners, do y'all have any other questions for the applicant?
Robbie, I do. I was thinking all along this was self-storage, but you're saying it's just a single unit for the applicant to store?
That's correct. That's their intention.
So just a single building?
That's correct.
Okay. I realize it's just a zoning change, but the intended use, it sounds like would not really increase traffic along Lawson, right? Is that what you're getting at?
That's what I was.
Yeah.
Commissioners, do y'all have any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none, I think a motion would be in order. Yeah, we have to do them separately.
A second.
May we take a roll call vote, please?
Bedden? Brooks?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Haynes?
Yes.
Hodge?
Yes.
Mature?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
and Vogel.
Recuse.
We have 9 yes, 1 recusal. Motion passes.
A second.
But we have a roll call vote on that item.
Bedden? Brooks?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Haynes?
Yes.
Hodge?
Yes.
Latour?
Yes.
McDonald?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yes.
Vickers?
Yes.
Vogel?
Recuse.
9 yes, 1 recusal. Item, the motion passes.
May we read item 8?
Next is item 8, file number Z9665. This is the Huey Short-Term Rental, PDC, located at 10,100 Cantrell Road. The applicant proposes to rezone this 8.68 acre property from R2 to PDC to allow use of the property as a short-term rental with a maximum stay of 14 days. The owner will not reside at the residence, and the entire residence will be rented as one unit. This 8.68 acre property located on the north side of Cantrell Road, east of the I-430 intersection. This site contains a residence and a small storage shed near the south portion of the property, and is mostly wooded from the house to the north end of the property. Access to the property is by one-lane circular concrete driveway connecting to Cantrell Road with parking provided within the boundary of the property. The applicant notes that there's a paved parking for 15 vehicles on the site. Section 36502 of the city's zoning ordinance would typically require 1 parking space per dwelling unit. Staff believes this is sufficient to serve the proposed use. The applicant notes that the residence is approximately 3,956 square feet in area, containing 4 bedrooms and can accommodate up to 7 beds. The existing shed near the rear of the property will not be rented and will only be used for storage. The applicant did provide responses and additional information to all issues raised during the review of this application, and there are no variances requested. Staff does not support the requested PDC zoning. Staff does not believe the request is reasonable, and the proposed commercial use is not appropriate for this location. The property is designated as RL, or residential low density, by the city's future land use plan, and is bordered on the east, west, and north by single-family homes. Staff believes that the introduction of a commercial short-term rental at this location will be out of character with the overall area at this time and could have an adverse impact on the surrounding single-family properties. And therefore, staff recommends denial of the requested PDC zoning.
Thank you for that reading. Is the applicant present? Please approach the podium.
Thank you very much. My name's Casey Huey, and thank you, Chairman and Commissioners here. I appreciate your time. Honestly, I didn't realize that the staff was going to did this down, and so I feel like I'm just a little bit blindsided by that. It's supposed to be a layup, I thought. You know, we're going to create some jobs and revenue for the city. But so I guess I'll just try to make a case here and be available to answer any questions. Little Rock's my hometown. Born and raised here, worked here my entire life. I bought this property in 2006 and have enjoyed living there. About 15 days ago, I bought the property next door to the west. So it's on your map. It's 10214 Cantrell. And I intend to move into that property, and that is going to become my primary residence. So renting out my home, and it is my home. I mean, I was married there. I've had a memorial service there. A lot of important things have happened in my life at that residence, and so it's important to me that I'm a good steward of it, and I do see an opportunity. And I mean, I want to make money. I guess everyone comes before you with some idea either to do something with property they own, or maybe they're trying to make some money with the development or just what. So over the years, I've experienced a lot of short-term rentals as a customer. And what I've experienced is that the owners often are ambassadors for their community or place. They're caring, and they are really trying to offer people something nice. And that's exactly what our intentions are. This home is, we've spent a lot and made a lot of effort. Went through a pretty expensive plot survey just to get to this point in the application. And so, and I've owned a business here in Little Rock before, employed a number of people. And so I feel like my wife, Amy, is not here right now because she's at a home inspection, but she's a licensed realtor. And so what our goals are simply are just to offer short-term rental at our next door house. And we want to do that under I realize the laws there's a lot of proposals that it's a little murky, what can be done at this juncture. And I've seen the proposals that you have, and we're on board with just really trying to hit the ball down the middle of the fairway and put our cards on the table and just be upfront about what our goals are. So we want to rent the house on a short-term basis, probably a 2 or 3 night minimum, a couple week maximum, and control it. It's actually 3 bedrooms, not 4, I'm sorry. It was 4 originally when the home was built. It's 3 now. And so, it's not going to have a lot of people going and coming. Certainly wouldn't notice it on Cantrell. Now, I've lived on Cantrell for 16 years, and Cantrell, as you all know, in that location's gotten pretty happening. A lot of traffic. I think maybe 34,000 cars a day moving through that area there. So basically that's it. We're going to live next door, and we want to rent this out to hopefully nice folks that will take care of our place and not disturb anyone. It's a very private property, and it doesn't feel, I guess I'm surprised that, it would be denied by the staff. I'm not sure who the staff is or what the reasons were, but I'm here to answer any questions or try to make the case for this. I respectfully would like for this to be approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do any of the commissioners have questions for the applicant?
Yes, I have a question.
Okay.
Have you spoken with the residents that's in the area about what your plans are for the short-term rental?
Well, no, sir, I haven't, because it's just not it's not a traditional neighborhood where you stand out on the street and talk with your neighbor. My direct neighbors, David and Renee Dean to the west, I purchased their house. And you guys probably know, right? I mean, a few months ago, some commercial realtors came knocking, and next thing you know, they throw Newmark Moses Tucker puts up a big sign for sale. I realized that probably, ruffled some feathers down here. It was out of order. I know a lot more about that now, and it was a 3 and out. It was a punt and a failed effort. And I realized that you guys probably got some phone calls as a result of that. I have pivoted. I've purchased the neighboring property, as I mentioned, and I'm hopefully there for the long haul. If this property becomes commercial someday, it'll be because it's a planned commercial development that you guys know about and are for and support. And I have no designs about that at this point in my life, but it's a very busy area, and we see what's happening, on the other corners of this area. But it's our goal to provide a short-term rental option. Little Rock is not served very well by short-term rental properties. If you are in the travel design and you like to go around and you've rented places like this, if you take a look at HomeAway, VRBO, or Airbnb for Little Rock, it's pretty thin. So we feel like we would have a very nice offering for people to come, maybe your families, to come to Little Rock for special occasions, or whatever the reason may be. We're close to the bike trail. We feel like the city's invested heavily in those types of assets. We'd like to support that and support other things that are going on in our city by offering a very nice place for people to come with their families and gather and enjoy our city.
Thank
What is
you.
the distance in between the homes? Do you happen to know that?
My lot, I think, is maybe 320 feet of frontage.
Okay.
And so I read somewhere in one of the proposed ordinances that, you would maybe contact people within 200 feet. Well, 200 feet one way, I'm that owner now. And there's not another property on the other side going west that's within 200 feet of that house. I think it's further than 200 feet because that house also has about 300 feet of frontage. And I haven't spoken to my neighbor to the east. I don't really have a relationship with that neighbor, but I have no problem going up and speaking to that neighbor about this. The neighbors to the back, my lot is 1,200 feet deep. So the neighbors to the back, they're in River Ridge. They're in a different community. When my house was built, it was a country home. That was called the Little Rock Perryville Road. Interestingly, my wife, Amy, who might roll in here any moment, but she found this map not long ago, and it was a map that would have hung on a school wall or something. It was the kind that you pull down. Your teacher would be pointing things out with a long stick, but it's a map of Little Rock. I wish I'd have brought it down here. I think it was produced maybe in the 50s. It's interesting how much farmland, how much vacant land we had in our city at that time. So anyway, just some perspective, in time, when you look at a map like that, you realize, progress happens and things move on. Short-term rentals I realize it's kind of a new thing for Little Rock. Maybe we're not viewed as a, destination town, or, you don't come to Little Rock for a vacation, or maybe you do, all right? Maybe you do. If you have nice things, if you build it, they'll come. Well, our house is built. It's a beautiful home. We want to put it out there for folks to come and enjoy. And trust me, I'm going to keep a close eye on it and make sure that it's not an issue. If it is, then, we'll back up. I understand what would be upsetting to people, right? I mean, some big throwdown there, something, noisy. I don't know, what would be unhappy or upset any neighbors. Then there's no neighbors across the street other than people behind a brick wall on the other side of Cantrell that live in some townhomes, or condominiums. So I feel like it's perfectly suited. It's not jammed in the Hillcrest or the Heights where you've got, 15 neighbors within 300 feet. It's not that. So be happy to answer any more questions about it.
I think staff had something they wanted to say. Is that correct?
I'm just going to respond to Commissioner Brooks by saying that all owners of property within 200 feet of this 8.5 acres were notified of the public hearing.
Thank you.
So you bring up a great point. We have a short-term rental proposed ordinance out on the website for the Planning and Development Department, and we had a public comment event Monday. We have another public comment event next Monday at the Stiff Station Community Resource Center on 7th between Woodrow and the train track bridge by Whitewater. So, I would hope citizens would come out and give their, speak their mind. Jamie, I guess the question I have for you is, if we allowed this to go through, what would happen in relation to the current ordinance as it is written if it were approved by the board of directors? I know that's a lot of hypotheticals, but it would convert to a short-term rental too. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's a planned development, and so any of the rules and regulations, if the board adopts that short-term rental ordinance that we're looking at, would fall underneath it. That they would fall underneath the regulation and the monitoring of such through that process. We've had several come out through the years for a short-term rental through that plan development process. That is the only way right now that we can process it through the planning commission and the board.
But our goal is, as a commission, to address that through the public comment period and then proposing it before the commission for a vote and then to the board.
That's correct.
So would applicants be viewed differently once that ordinance is potentially passed, or they still have to go through the same process as they do now?
Well, Mr. Malone can speak a little bit more to the ordinance. It is online. We are looking at essentially two types of short-term rentals: owner-occupied rental and non-owner occupied rental. The main premise is it all comes down to what the policymakers would decide. Our recommendation is, and from what I've heard from several of the board members, is that when it's a non-owner occupied rental, they want to see it come before the board. I think right now we do have it that if it is a owner occupied rental, they live in the residence. We're proposing that it just comes before the planning commission as a special use permit, which would tie it to that individual owner. So if it's sold at a later date, it would not transfer with the sale. It is with the owner. In general,
For
those are the two
owner-occupied short-term rental 1, correct?
Yes.
And for short-term rental 2, it would still be a planned development.
Yeah, if for the non-owner occupied, it would still be a plan development, go before the planning of the board.
Okay, so they'd still go through the same process of application, notification.
Yeah, the only difference would be is at the very end, the one that is owner occupied theirs would stop at the planning commission unless denied and appealed or appealed by somebody in opposition.
Thank you for that understanding. Do the commissioners have any other questions for the applicants? No one else is here in opposition, so I guess we'll take a motion, and we already heard that it will be a yes vote. It's 4 and a no vote against.
I move for the approval of item Z9665, including all staff comments, conditions, except the recommendation of denial.
A second.
And may we have a roll call vote, please?
Bedden,
Yes.
Brooks,
Remove myself from the vote.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes. Sorry, can you repeat your response, Commissioner Haynes?
Yes.
Thank you. Hodge,
Yes.
Latour. Commissioner Latour,
No.
McDonald,
Can you repeat what that means again? I'm trying to figure out what the,
If you vote yes, you're allowing the applicant to continue to do his application and proceed before the board of directors for his short-term rental application. If you vote no, then you're saying at this meeting that you do not agree and you do not want it to proceed. So you're voting against the applicant.
okay. I vote no.
Thomas,
No.
Vickers,
Yes.
and Vogel.
No.
Five. Yes. 4 noes, 2 recusals.
2 recusals or 1 recusal?
Excuse me, 1 recusal.
Okay. The motion does not pass, correct?
Motion does not pass, but in an instance where an application would go to the city board, if you have a positive vote, but you do get less than 6 votes, it is sent to the board of directors with a recommendation of denial. And that's if the applicant wishes to proceed.
Do you understand, applicant? You can still go before the board of directors and seek their approval due to the reason that we did not, as a majority, vote against you. So it's up to you if you want to go before the board or resubmit a different application. Is that my understanding, Director Collins? Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a little bit confusing. Sounded like 5 trumps 4, but it has to be 6?
It has to have the majority.
To stop, if we were to vote 6 against you, your application would be denied and you would not be allowed to go forward
see.
to the board of directors. But you are now allowed to go before the board of directors. However, staff will still continue to support a denial of your application. That doesn't mean the city board of directors will vote that way either. But again, it's allowing you to continue the process as opposed to stopping you at this current moment.
I see. So is there a way for, a citizen or an applicant to gain an understanding about what's around the no votes? I mean, how do I?
Yeah, you can leave your phone number or contact number with us, and I'll call you and give you my explanation. I don't know why the other commissioners voted against or accused or for. That's not appropriate for us to discuss among ourselves. I mean, we're all coming to this meeting with our own opinions, but we're trying to understand the situation the best we can, but I'll be happy to talk one-on-one offline of why I voted my way.
Thank you. Also, the staff, is the staff approachable?
Always, yes.
Is the staff here? Is this the staff?
Staff's on that side of the room.
The staff?
Walter Malone, Monty Moore.
I see.
Lawrence, Romy,
Okay.
Director Collins.
I see. I understand.
The other members of staff.
Chairman Vogel, can I make a quick
Certainly.
comment that might, this is a challenging issue that's before the city right now. So just to give you, I guess it was 2 months ago, we had a similar application, but a different neighborhood, a different home, okay? And I voted no, and today I voted yes. And so we're all kind of doing this by feel right now, almost. The home a couple of months ago was in a cul-de-sac off of Napoleon with homes surrounding it. There was no parking.
In St. Charles neighborhood.
Yeah, your home has acreage and parking and a pool, and so I could see where a wedding party or someone like that might VRBO your home. So we just have to get this ordinance passed, and so we have some guidelines to go by. It's difficult at this time, and that's why.
Well, I appreciate you voting yes.
Well, I
this
almost
time.
voted no, but.
Well, I mean, and I want you guys to understand, and ladies.
What I feel right now is what I'm saying.
Yes.
I think what's best right now is that since the motion's been voted on, we cease the conversation, and you know what your options are, and you certainly can feel free to reach out to any of the members of the commission for, their perspective. Appreciate the application, and if you choose to go forward with the board, hope the best for you, and certainly staff will make themselves available, I'm sure, at their convenience. So I thank you for coming before the commission tonight.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we're moving on to our last item number.
We have 9 and 10 left.
Oh, we have 9 and 10. That's right. Sorry, I thought we had 2. 8 and 9. So we have 9 and 10. So item 9.
Item number 9, file number Z 9672. This is the Cozy Spot Rental, short-term rental, PDC, located at 319 North Summit Street. The applicant proposes to rezone this 0.16 acre property located at 319 North Summit Street from R3 to PDC to allow for the use of the property as a short-term rental. The owner will not reside at the residence. The applicant notes that the entire residence will be rented for a minimum of 2 nights, not to exceed a period of 14 days. Access to the property is provided from a concrete driveway along North Summit Street. There is parking for 2 vehicles in the driveway. Section 36502 of the city's zoning ordinance would typically require 1 parking space for the dwelling unit. Staff believes the 2 spaces are sufficient for this use. The applicant provided this following information with regard to the short-term rental. There will be no parties or large gatherings. They will have a sound monitor alarm, a Ring doorbell light camera to ensure compliance. Since it is a 3-bedroom home, they will permit a total of 6 guests from the same family. Compliance with all proposed city regulations, current and future, and compliance with all regulations on Airbnb and VRBO. The applicant provided responses and additional information to all issues raised during staff's review, and the applicant is requesting no variances with the PDC request. Staff does support the requested PDC to allow a short-term rental at 319 North Summit Street. Staff views the request as reasonable. Staff feels the minor increase in traffic will not have an adverse impact within the area. Staff feels that this is a good location for a short-term rental, and the short-term rental will not be out of character with the overall area. The property is located on the perimeter of this neighborhood and does back up to industrial zone property. Also, there is a variety of housing within this neighborhood to the south. There is some R4 and R5 zoning and PDR zoning as well. Staff does recommend approval of the requested PDC zoning to allow short-term rental subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
The applicant is online.
Great. May we ask the applicant if they can speak and if they would like to speak on their behalf of their application or wait to hear what the opposition has to say?
No, certainly. My name is Ashish. I really appreciate you guys considering my application, and I appreciate the city and the commissioners looking into this in detail. Just to add to what I've written and proposed, we do understand that short-term rental is well needed in Little Rock. Me and my wife own the company. We both work in healthcare in a hospital, and we do see a large need for short-term rentals for not just healthcare workers during the pandemic as well as after, but also a lot of our patients and the families require short-term rentals, and we do see a large need. And of course, this is not done for purely for that reason. There is also financial gain involved. But I think we truly believe that there is a deficit in this particular market, and we think we would not bother any of our neighbors. I've read through all the city regulations and proposed ordinances, and I've gone through everything in detail so that we prepare ourselves. And even if you change certain rules, we're prepared to change our property. So with that, I would leave it to you guys to have any questions, and I'll be happy to address them.
Okay. We will yield the remainder of his time to the one card that I got in opposition, Mr. Clayton Kuapio. I cannot pronounce your last name. I apologize.
Yeah, good afternoon, and I wouldn't make you try to pronounce that last name. That got me through high school. I always knew it was my name when it came to it because they just stared at it. Doctor, it's nice to meet you. I'm the neighbor that's just to the west of you. I should say, I guess, just to the north. I didn't receive any communication regarding this issue. I've been notified of it by other residents in the area. So there is no home closer to this residence than my own. I would piggyback on what's been shared as concerns for rentals of this type. If you're not familiar with North Summit Street, it's a very limited street. There is no off-side road parking. It's ditched. It's fairly deep. There are sidewalks in front of 319 and 321, which is my residence as well. However, it doesn't allow for safe parking as that street was just repaved and is fairly narrow. So parking is a genuine concern. If that house is being considered as a 3-bedroom, and we would consider that there's a likelihood that there could be 2, 3, maybe 4 cars, I think that it would have a problem accommodating that. And as I said, I don't think that there's any street parking that's adequate. So those are my community kind of concerns. My personal concern, living at 321, is short-term rentals are not conducive to a sense of community. I'm not from Little Rock. I moved up from San Antonio 2 years ago, and I purchased this house about a year ago. One of the things that I liked about the area was the sense of community, of knowing the neighbors and sharing that shared sense of community, as I said. The new owners, I certainly understand. I'm sympathetic to investment properties and what it entails, and for the medical field and everything else that's close to the hospital. I'm concerned about the loss of the sense of community that's in the area, however. And my personal concern is also for the number of transient people coming through, renting, maybe partying on the weekend. I understand we have ordinances that are being drafted but are not yet in place to cover these sort of things. My work schedule is anything but normal, in quotes. I work weekends, oftentimes very, very early in the morning. Things like that. I would be remiss if I said I don't have concerns about that turning into some sort of a party house and therefore depleting the sense of community and a sense of wellness in my residence. Lastly, I just wanted to share that it appears that the doctor is already assumed that this has been passed, and if that's the case, then I suppose I'm wasting my time. There's already been a moving van there. It's moving in furniture, and I assume that means that this may well already be underway. So I appreciate everyone's time and allowing me to express my concerns on the issue, and perhaps I could be re-educated as to why my concerns could be softened a bit by virtue of this meeting. Thank you.
Sir, I just wanted to address, you did receive a notification to a Rodney Parham address. I don't know if that's a post office box that you use or was a registered address when they went back through the
That is not an address that I utilize, so if it went there, that explains why I didn't receive it. So no, I was not notified. And that's not a mailbox that is any longer in use.
It was at one time in use?
At one time it was. I was aware of it.
Chair, if I may, just for everybody's knowledge, notifications go out to the owner of record and address of the property as listed at the Pulaski County tax records. So that is the address that was listed for that property for contacts for the tax purposes.
Okay. Well, an effort was made, the proper effort was made, I feel, to notify. You obviously learned about it, and I think you definitely articulated your concerns very well. At this time, we'll allow the applicant to respond to your concerns. Applicant, you have about 18 minutes remaining, is that correct? Okay.
Yes.
Oh, I certainly hope I don't take 18 minutes to respond. First of all, my apologies for meeting you this way. I probably should have just knocked your door and introduced myself. Yeah, so we did make a lot of efforts to make sure that we mail everybody that this is what we're doing, and I appreciate you raising your concerns. Now the parking, I realize that that's an issue for sure, but see, the two carports that are right next to the house, me and my wife, we believe are going to be sufficient to host people from outside, and our efforts are going to be to allow only people from one family, or a family of 6 at the maximum, because the city rules or the proposed rules are that in one bedroom you can have 2 people. So we're going to follow that rule very strictly. So we do not anticipate a lot of cars. And as you know, this is not a very big house. I mean, it's a decent sized house, and even though it has 3 bedrooms, we feel that maximum 6 guests is what we're looking for. So that's one of your concerns, and hopefully that sort of addresses that. And number 2, the big rule that we thought would definitely help avoiding any party people is not allowing local guests. So there is a way you can block local people residing in the house, right? So that's definitely is going to be our effort. And number 2, the minimum nightly stay for most party people, it's 1 night. They spend the night and they go. We're going to try to, so our listing would say 2 nights minimum. And at the beginning, like the first 1 or 2 listing might say 1, because we're trying to get used to that. But we would definitely keep it at 2 minimum nights. So that's definitely our efforts. And the third thing is we are going to be personally screening all the applicants, at least for the foreseeable future. And our goal is to try to give this to traveling nurses, to patients' families, word of mouth sort of business. And I think that's where we're looking at. And of course, I'm not going to say that we will not give it to people that we don't know, but our primary purpose is that. And then finally, you definitely raise a good point that the sense of loss of community and so forth. I agree with that, but this is what I would say, that the previous owner who had this house had rented it out already for a long-term rental, and a lot of properties that we reached out in that neighborhood, most of them did not. Most of the neighbors do not reside there, and the reason I know that is because a lot of the mails I personally sent out went to different addresses, not in the neighborhood, but somewhere else. But I truly agree with your point that this might create a problem in the neighborhood. That being said, we're hoping that we get quiet people, people who truly need it, focused on healthcare. And then as a final note, I think somebody already mentioned this on our behalf, that we would have a sound monitor or a noise level monitor to avoid, any loud noises, things like those. And along with that, we'll have a ring camera that kind of allows us to know how many people are coming in. So with that, I pass it on to the city to sort of, if they have any comments or questions for me.
Thank you. You definitely did not take 18 minutes. Do the commissioners have any questions for the applicant? Hearing none, I guess a motion would be in order.
I move for the approval of item Z9672, including all staff comments and conditions.
I second.
Do we have a roll call vote, please?
Bed,
Yes.
Brooks,
I remove myself from this vote.
Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge. Commissioner Hodge,
Yes.
Latour,
No.
McDonald,
I'm going to remove myself as well.
Thomas,
No.
Vickers. No. And Vogel.
No.
Four yeses, 4 noes, 2 recusals.
Motion does not pass.
Motion fails.
Thank you, applicant. Thank you, citizen. We are now on to item 10.
Item number 10, file number Z9673. This is a Wellington Plaza Event Center, PDC, located at 222 Wellington Hills Road. The applicant proposes to rezone this 2.6-acre property from O3 General Office District to PDC Planned District Commercial to allow use of a portion of the 4,400 square foot commercial building as an events venue. The property is located at, again, at 222 Wellington Hills Road, north of the intersection with Chenal Parkway. The property is currently developed, containing a 4,400 square foot commercial building and paid parking for up to 35 vehicles with an access drive connecting to Wellington Hills Road. The site plan shows an existing parking configuration, again, with 35 spaces, which exceeds the required minimum. Staff believes the current number of parking spaces will serve the uses proposed. The applicant notes that the building is currently occupied by an existing tenant in the northern 2,200 square feet, with the remaining 2,200 square feet on the south portion of the building is unfinished at this time. And the applicant does propose to finish out this southern portion and utilize it as an event venue for small private parties or office gatherings. The applicant notes that the hours of operation of the building will be from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m., and no events will be held in the space that requires an admission fee to enter. The private school, which leases the north portion of the building, will operate from 2:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and no events will be held during those hours. The applicant proposes that only one event will be held each day with a maximum occupancy of 100 persons, and that no food, beverages, or alcoholic beverages will be provided at the events. The applicant did provide responses and additional information to issues raised by staff during the review of this application, and no variances are requested. Staff is supportive of the requested PDC rezoning to allow development of an event venue within this existing commercial building. Staff views the request as reasonable. The property is in an area surrounded by similar uses and zoning, with similar commercial developments adjacent to the property to the northwest and south along Wellington Hills Road. Staff believes the proposed use will have no adverse impact on the surrounding properties, and therefore staff recommends approval of the requested PDC zoning to allow the proposed use subject to compliance with the comments and conditions outlined in paragraph E and the staff analysis of the agenda staff report.
Thank you for that reading. Is the applicant present? Is the person who spoke or raised their hand in opposition online still online?
We have no one left in the room online.
Okay. Since the applicant nor the person online is here, I think it would be appropriate if we had a motion.
Move that we, for the approval of item Z9673, including all staff comments and conditions.
Second.
May we have a roll call vote, please?
Bedden,
Yes?
Brooks, Hart,
Yes.
Haynes,
Yes.
Hodge,
Yes.
Latour,
Yes.
McDonald,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yes.
Vickers,
Yes.
and Vogel.
Yes.
10-0-0 passes unanimously.
That said, any public new business we need to speak about at this time? Hearing none, we will conclude the meeting. Thank you.